I know you're going to be inspired by this story. Tina Zimmerman shares what happened on the anniversary of her husband's passing. She was on a safari in the African wilderness, but she wasn't afraid. As God's daughter, this moment was exactly what Tina had asked of her Father in heaven. Tina felt safe as she was reminded of God's love and His goodness. Here's Tina's story on this special episode of A Widow's Heart.
My name is Tina Zimmerman. I've always been an animal person. I grew up on a farm. I worked at a veterinary office for 25 years, and I currently train service dogs for a living. So I'm pretty used to seeing animals do amazing things on a day-to-day basis. But in 2010, my husband and I started going to Africa on short-term mission trips. We founded an organization called Harvest Guards International. I would go over and train protection dogs to guard farmers from poachers, thieves, criminals, that type of thing. The program really took off. We were able to expand and do a lot of work there, but the projects kind of tend to turn into other things. And so we were digging wells and we were building homes for homeless people that were HIV positive. And we were spending several months a year in country, just working all day, every day, doing hard work. And so we just made it a practice that at least one time every trip, we would just take a day off. We would go to Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda and just spend the day in God's creation and seeing all His beautiful creatures. And it's thousands of acres of savanna and mountains and lakes and rivers. And it's just such a beautiful place. You know, everybody wants to see lions. That's the big thing, is to see lions. And so when you go, you can actually hire a tracker there, and it costs like $20. And a few of the lions in the different prides wear tracking collars. And so one of the guides will go out and they have, it looks like one of those old fashioned TV antennas, and they go out on a motorcycle and all these animals, and they just kind of hold that antenna above their head. And it's not like our GPS that says, oh, it's right there, but it'll say, well, in that general region, there seems to be some signal that says there's lion activity there or whatever. We never saw a lion. We never, ever saw a lion. Every year we would hire a guide, never saw a lion. In 2020, again, we had been there for several weeks working. We planned our day to go out. We hired a guide, and sure enough, we got to see a lion. My husband, Brian, was so excited, and he took all kinds of pictures of it, and he showed everybody his blurry pictures of the lion.
We'll be right back. I'm your host, Pam, and I want to thank Wings for Widows for their continued sponsorship of A Widow's Heart podcast. If you've lost your spouse, you may know the confusion in the middle of grief when you have to make major financial decisions. I know I do. Wings for Widows can help, and it's free to you. More than 85% of women of all ages responding to a State Farm survey said that being the sole financial decision maker is the most challenging aspect of being a widow. Today, with more than 50 volunteers, Wings for Widows provides pro bono financial coaching to women from all walks of life nationwide. I hope you check them out. They're ready to help at wingsforwidows.org.
But it was just cool that we finally got to see one after 10 years of searching. In the summer, he began to not feel well and went to the doctor. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he fought for a year. We prayed for a year. We believed for a year. But on November 6th of 2022, he went to be with Jesus. And I really struggled why God would have such a godly man, such a kind man, go through such a horrible disease and lose his life. And why would he take him from me? I was so angry at God and not even sure if I believed in God, but if I did believe in God, he's a mean God and I don't like him. And I spent the last year of my life just searching for answers to why. And there aren't always answers to why. But when the first anniversary of his passing approached, I knew where I wanted to be. I knew that was going to be a really hard day. And some of our supporters from our organization sponsored me to go back and do some work for harvest guards in that area. So I flew back and worked for several weeks. And then I decided that on November 6th, I wanted to be at Queen Elizabeth National Park, and I was going to take a rest, and I was going to go back to that beautiful place. And I just wanted to create a new memory for November 6th, something beautiful. And so I asked God, would you just let me see a lion? It would just be so awesome to see a lion on Brian's day of going home. November 6th, we went out into the park, and unfortunately it's just pouring down raining that morning. And when it's raining, there's puddles everywhere, so they don't come out and you don't see much. And as we started driving, we had to drive a couple hours, and my friend said, I'm going to try to take you up this one mountain. So we started to go up the mountain, and unfortunately it was raining so hard that the path we were on, they're just dirt paths that the animals have trod down, and it was washed out and it wasn't safe. And he apologized and he said, we're not going to be able to go up this road, but let me turn around and let's go all the way around the mountain and come up the other side. And when we got to that side, it was completely impassable. It was still raining. And he's driving along, just kind of apologizing that, we didn't get to see lions. And all of a sudden I heard him gasp. And I looked over to see what's wrong. And then I looked to see what he was looking at. And probably 100 yards down ahead of us, there was a lioness sitting on an anthill, just sitting there, very straight, watching our car. And so he stopped, and I jumped up on my seat. I'm standing on my seat out the top of the sunroof. And I'm praising God, thank you for my lion. I got to see a lion. And about that time, she comes down off the anthill. She starts walking towards our car. And I just stayed out of the car. And all of a sudden, another gold head pops out of the grass, and another gold head. And there was 4 female lions that came with 2 little cubs. They came to our car, and they laid down next to our car, and not in like a predatory way. They came in the pouring rain and laid down all around our car. And all of a sudden the clouds broke and the sun just came through and the rain went away. And I looked out the side, and here comes this massive male lion, and he's shaking his head. It looked like a movie, like in slow motion. He's shaking the rain out of his mane. And then he just lays down probably 30 feet from our car, laid down, and he's just grooming himself so majestically. And then the 2 little cubs that were with the lionesses, they start playing, and they're pouncing on each other, and they're grabbing each other's tail, and they're shaking each other's paws. And I'm just standing out the top of the car. And I just said, God, this is you. I know this is you. What a huge gift. And just breathing in the air and the sunshine in Africa, the warmth of Africa is like nothing you've ever felt. It was like you could just feel the radiance of God. And I wanted to absorb that whole experience. And I felt like, okay, God, I got it. Thank you. And we drove away. And we had traveled probably about 10 minutes. And we went down this road. And you're not going to believe what is walking up the road towards us. 6 more lions. There was 4 males and 2 females, and they're walking towards us. And then here comes another male, and they came to our car, and they laid down around our car. 7 more lions. And these, they were males, so they had the big manes, and they were, yawning in their teeth and everything. And I'm taking pictures. And again, I cannot believe we are seeing another pride of lions. And so again, we stayed until we kind of felt like, well, what else do we do? I mean, how many more pictures can we take of the same thing? And it was just so unbelievably overwhelming to see another pride of lions. And so we kind of decided we should probably start to head back. You don't want to be in the park after, the sunset. So we start to drive. We take a turn to go back to the main road. And there's another pride of lions right in front of us. 7 more lions. As we were going out the park, they asked us, did you see any lions today? Because that's what everybody hopes for. And we said, we saw 3 prides of lions. And he said, you must be blessed by God. Because he said, we have people who come here and stay in the lodge for 2 weeks and go out every day on safari and never see 1 pride of lions. And he said, there are only 7 prides in this entire region, and you saw 3 of them in one day. I know that was God. I know that God came to me in that moment and said, I love you, and I am a good God, and my plans are not your plans, but I'm still a good God. And I heard your prayers, and I heard your cry, and he blessed me. And the verse Ephesians 3:20, he will do exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever ask or hope for. And that's what he did in that day. And, it would be easy to be skeptical and go, well, you're in Africa. You saw lions. But God used animals in the Bible time and time again. He shut the mouths of lions around our car. He brought them to us. He put a coin in a fish's mouth. He made a donkey speak. And so if God did it then, he's doing it now. And I'm just so thankful that he knew that for me, a little country girl that grew up around animals, the way to reach my heart was through animals again. And he did it exceedingly, abundantly more than I could have ever asked for.
Isn't that incredible? What a beautiful reminder of the love that God has for all of us in the big and the small. Personally, I'd put lions in the big category. I'm Pam Lundell, and thanks for joining me on this special episode of A Widow's Heart.